When I first started gardening, I was obsessed with fertilizers, the labels, the ratios, the promises of bigger, greener, faster. I had shelves full of bottles and powders, but no matter what I used, something was always missing. My plants grew, yes, but they never thrived. The leaves were lush but shallow, and the soil beneath them felt tired, lifeless. That's when I learned about the real foundation of plant health, not fertilizers, but the living community beneath our feet. The world of microbes and mycorrhizae, tiny, unseen partners that outperform any fertilizer on the market, quietly working around the clock to keep soil alive and plants self-sustaining. Why living soil beats fertilizer every time? Chemical fertilizers feed plants directly, but they also bypass and weaken the soil's natural food web. Think of it like giving your plants fast food. It's quick energy, but it doesn't build lasting strength. Living soil, on the other hand, is like a slow-cooked meal. It nurtures the entire ecosystem, not just the plant's surface needs. Microbes, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and nematodes are the workforce. They break down organic matter, release nutrients in forms plants can absorb, and create stable humus that holds moisture. Fertilizers come and go. Microbial life builds permanent fertility. The role of mycorrhizae, the underground network. If microbes are the workers, mycorrhizal fungi are the architects. These remarkable fungi form symbiotic relationships with plant roots, extending their reach through fine filaments called hyphae. It's like giving every root system an internet connection to the soil. Through these fungal networks, plants gain access to water and nutrients far beyond their root zone, especially phosphorus, which is notoriously difficult for plants to absorb on their own. In return, the fungi receive sugars from the plant's photosynthesis. Research has shown that plants connected to mycorrhizal networks grow stronger, resist drought better, and even communicate chemical signals to warn neighboring plants about pests. It's an ancient partnership, one that no bag of fertilizer can replicate. Building living soil from the ground up. To activate this hidden powerhouse in your garden, you don't need expensive amendments. What you need is a strategy that fosters microbial diversity and fungal growth. So, to get started, just cut out synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. They really mess up the soil food web and end up killing off all that beneficial life down there. Instead, you want to feed your soil with organic matter. Things like compost, leaf mold, worm castings, or even a bit of well-aged manure. These kinds of additions provide carbon and energy, which is exactly what soil microbes need to thrive. Then, it's important to minimize disturbance. Tilling or turning the soil actually breaks up those crucial fungal networks and dries out the microbial colonies. It's best to let the soil structure develop naturally. If you're growing in raised beds or containers, just add compost or mulch right on top. That's nature's own way of layering. And finally, always keep the soil covered. Bare soil is basically dead soil. Use mulch, cover crops, or keep living roots in place all year round to protect that microbial habitat. Even something as simple as a layer of straw or shredded leaves helps keep moisture steady and temperatures moderate, which really encourages biological life to flourish. Now here's where you'll see the microbe-mycorrhizae connection really in action. When your soil becomes biologically active, you'll notice the difference pretty quickly. Water starts to soak in, rather than just running off the surface. Roots grow deeper and thicker than before. Plus, you'll find pest and disease pressure drops off, since your plants are so much better nourished and balanced. One of the most powerful demonstrations of this was in a tomato bed I treated with compost tea inoculated with mycorrhizal spores. Within weeks, the root systems had doubled in size compared to untreated plants, and fruit set was more consistent. No fertilizer did that. It was the biology. These living systems don't just deliver nutrients, they store them. Fungal networks capture minerals and carbon, locking fertility into the soil for the long term. So even if you skip feeding for a season, the soil keeps giving. You can accelerate this natural process with a few simple homemade tools. One is compost tea, a brewed liquid made by steeping compost in water with a little molasses and aeration. This multiplies beneficial microbes that can then be poured directly into your beds. Another is inoculating soil with a mycorrhizal starter, a fine powder or granule you sprinkle near plant roots at transplant time. It introduces beneficial fungal spores that will colonize your plants for life. You can also use fermented plant juices or lactic acid bacteria sprays, sometimes called labs, to strengthen microbial diversity. These actually feed the bacteria that build soil structure and help with nutrient cycling. Why does this method outlast every fertilizer? Well, the biggest difference between living soil and synthetic feeding is that biology, scales itself. Once established, microbial and fungal populations just self-regulate based on the organic matter that's available. That means you're creating a renewable system, one that feeds your plants season after season without depletion. Fertilizers need to be reapplied. Microbes don't. They reproduce, collaborate, and evolve with your soil environment. Over time, this turns even the poorest soil into a living, breathing engine of fertility. So if your garden feels dependent on fertilizers, always needing just one more feeding, it's really time to shift your focus underground. The unseen powerhouse of microbes and mycorrhizae does what no product can. It turns soil into a living partner, not just a passive medium. Once you start nurturing that invisible world, you'll see the change everywhere. In richer soil texture, more resilient plants, and honestly, stronger harvests that come from within. Skip the fertilizer aisle. Build life instead. Your plants, and your soil, will never need a chemical fix again.